Hey guys, today I will be taking a look at the possibility of DC statehood because I really do think that it can happen in the next couple of months or before the 2022 midterms. I do think that DC could really become a state, and right now if I were to bet, I would bet in favor of the District of Columbia becoming a state. So before we get any further into this, make sure you join my Discord server if you have not, the link to which is at the very top of the description below. So taking a look at the Senate map here, if DC became a state, it would be 50-50, and the reason why this is because the Republicans will never ever win the 2 Senate seats that would come from the District of Columbia, ever. They're not going to win those seats in the next century unless something major happens, unless they flip ideologies completely. The Republican Party is not going to win the District of Columbia. If you compare DC to other states, I mean, the most conservative state, the state that voted in favor of Donald Trump the most, was the state of Wyoming, where he won 69.94% of the vote. He won by a margin of 43.4%. You go to DC, Biden won the state by 86.8%. This is the most lopsided area or, place that gives electoral votes. The District of Columbia will not go red. It has never gone red. And those 2 seats are going to be 2 new Democratic seats forever. So if you look at the 3rd district, that is the most Republican district, and Trump only won by 53.2%, DC 86.8%. So that really is just how red the district, or not how red, sorry about that, how blue the District of Columbia is. And this would give Democrats, a really good advantage in the Senate, because every time they go into a midterm, an election, a general election, they always have those 2 seats. They will always have those 2 seats from now on as a cushion in case they don't do well, in case they lose some races that they're expected to win. They will always do 2 seats better than what they would have done without the District of Columbia. And when the Senate is really close and when the country is this divided, that would really help the Democrats a lot, because if the Republicans flip the Senate right now, if they flip the Senate in 2022, if they held on to Wisconsin, they held on to Pennsylvania, they held on to North Carolina, which they are not that likely to do. These 3 seats are toss-up seats. If they somehow flip Georgia, they would only win by 1 seat if DC wasn't a state. But if you add DC as a state, it would be 51, so that there would be 2 seats, so 51 for the Democrats to 51. So even if the Republicans flip a seat in 2022 and DC was a state, they would not gain control. They'd have to flip 2 seats, which really is unlikely at this moment in time, because Democrats, Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, these are Democratic states. These are not Republican states. And in these 3 states, the Republican incumbents are retiring. Ron Johnson said he was going to retire in 2016. Since then, he has taken those words back, but he is still pretty likely to not run for another term. So, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina, these 3 seats, the Republicans are most vulnerable, and these 3 Republican incumbents are not that likely to run. Wisconsin is, I would say, Ron Johnson's probably not going to run, but Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania and Richard Burr of North Carolina have already announced that they're not going to run. So the Senate looks terrible right now for the Republican Party. It's probably going to be a wave year for them. They will probably do better than typically, you would expect, but really, you have Chuck Grassley in Iowa, who's, really old, going to be 95 if he wins re-election and finishes that term. Rob Portman from the state of Ohio announced that he would not be running. So really, the 5 most vulnerable Republican seats, across the Rust Belt in North Carolina, they're all probably not going to be running for re-election. These 3 have already announced, while Iowa, Chuck Grassley would just be so old, it's pretty unlikely. And Wisconsin, Ron Johnson has already indicated that he's not going to run for another term. So really, the Republicans are in trouble here. And with DC statehood, this really could just give the Democrats, a strong grasp on the Senate. So right now, I want to take a look at what is preventing the Democrats from making DC a state. So like I said, 39, or I don't know if I actually said this, I recorded this a couple times here, so I'm not exactly sure if I said it, but basically 39 Democratic senators have co-sponsored a bill to make the District of Columbia a state. So all they need is 50 votes in the Senate, and DC will become a state. That is all the Democratic Party needs. And there are some who are not co-sponsors. You have Montana, you have John Tester, Kyrsten Sinema from Arizona, you have Joe Manchin from West Virginia, Angus King from Maine, Jeanne Shaheen of New Hampshire. You have Don Ossoff, Raphael Warnock from the state of Georgia, John Hickenlooper from Colorado, and Ben Ray Lujan from the state of New Mexico. So those are your Democratic senators that did not co-sponsor the bill. I believe there's one more. I'm going to check which one that is right here. You have Mark Kelly, of course. So you have 10 Democratic senators who did not co-sponsor the bill, and I'm going to go over, whether or not these Democrats are really going to vote for it. So just because you don't co-sponsor a bill does not mean you're not going to vote for it. 99% of the time, those who do not co-sponsor a bill do still end up voting for it. So you don't need 50 Democrats co-sponsoring a bill for it to pass. 39 really is a lot in the Senate. So taking a look at these seats, right off the bat, you can look at this. So Kyrsten Sinema, Joe Manchin, Jon Tester, these three are the main individuals. I will talk about them last. But Angus King, he is an independent technically, but he does caucus with the Democrats on almost everything, like Bernie Sanders. So I would put him as a vote. I'm really confident that Angus King will vote in favor of this from the state of Maine. He is in a blue state, so that's going to happen. For Angus King, he's going to vote in favor of it. You have Jeanne Shaheen. She did support previous statehood legislation. She was a co-sponsor, so definitely going to vote for it. She just won re-election by over 15 points in a blue state, so Jeanne Shaheen going to vote for it. That's, pretty much 100% at this point. Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, 100% going to vote for it. They said they would in their election bids for the Senate. I don't think that they're going to back up on that promise. They will vote for it. So Jon Ossoff, Raphael Warnock, the two newly elected senators from the state of Georgia, now a blue state in the Senate and presidential levels. So that's another two senators in favor of it. You have John Hickenlooper, Mark Kelly, and Ben Ray Lujan. So from, basically these three states down here, Hickenlooper from Colorado, Lujan from New Mexico, definitely going to vote for it. Mark Kelly as well. I don't see why he wouldn't. So these three senators definitely going to vote in favor of DC statehood. So now you have those three seats that I said were the most important ones. You have, of course, Jon Tester, Joe Manchin, and Kyrsten Sinema. So these three, they are the three Democratic senators that really are the most conservative. Kyrsten Sinema from Arizona, which is one of the most conservative states that Joe Biden won in 2020. And before that, no Democrat had won this state since 1996. For Montana, of course, it's been a red state for a while now. Just look at Montana up there. 3 electoral votes. Hasn't gone blue since 1992 with Bill Clinton. But, that was a long time ago, and things were really different back then. But Montana, 16-point margin for Donald Trump. Arizona, of course, 0.3 for Joe Biden, and then West Virginia, 38.9%. You're probably wondering how Joe Manchin actually wins in West Virginia, but he does have that appeal, and he does really do very, very well in West Virginia. He won his first election in a special election in 2010. He won 53% in 2012, his first re-election bid, 60.6%, and then 2008 against Patrick Morrisey, he won 49%. So 2024, not looking the best for Joe Manchin, but I think that, he was elected, re-elected after Trump took office. I think that you should not rule him out, because everybody said he was going to lose in 2018. He did not lose in 2018. As for Kyrsten Sinema, he defeated Martha McSally, of course, also ran again against Mark Kelly in 2020. But Kyrsten Sinema, I think she looks good in 2024. But for Kyrsten Sinema, she is one of the most conservative Democrats in the Senate. But I think that with them convincing, they will vote for it. And again, these three senators, they are Democrats. They are not looking to change their party affiliation anytime soon. They are not Republicans. They are, on the liberal side. But of course, there is a spectrum for, being on the left. So these are just the most right-leaning Democratic senators. So, with some convincing, I think all of them could be convinced. I would say Jon Tester has the highest chance. I do think Jon Tester will, very likely vote in favor of it. I think Kyrsten Sinema could, and, it wouldn't be that difficult. I think that with some convincing, you could get Kyrsten Sinema on, your side for DC statehood. But really, Joe Manchin, he's the one that Democrats need, and he's the one that's hardest to get. And Joe Manchin, I don't know why you would argue against this, but Joe Manchin really is the most powerful senator in the Senate right now, because if a Republican wants to get anything passed, they need 51 votes. And if they want to get a Democrat on board, it's most likely going to be Joe Manchin. For Democrats, they need 50. If they need that 50th vote, it's going to come from Joe Manchin. It's not going to come from anyone else. If Joe Manchin does vote in favor of statehood for the District of Columbia, that would mean 2 new Democratic seats, and that would really just make, Joe Manchin's power, completely disappear, because if he had those 2 seats, then even if Joe Manchin voted against, with the Republicans, it would still be 51-51, and Democrats would still win because they have Kamala Harris breaking the tie in favor of them. So really, Joe Manchin right now, the most popular, or not most popular, the most powerful senator in the Senate. If he votes for it, he's going to lose that power, and he knows that. So we'll see what happens, but I think personally that Joe Manchin can be convinced, and I think that he will vote in favor of this. So really, in the next couple of months, you really can't see DC become a state, but as for right now, it's not going to happen because Joe Biden mainly focusing on COVID relief right now and ending that. And then, of course, you have Trump's impeachment. I believe it's starting, either today or in the next couple of days. I'm pretty sure it's today, though, but it's going to be starting up very, very soon, and that is going to take precedence over anything else. So DC's statehood will be pushed back a little bit, but I think it's at the top of Democrats' thinking. I mean, they are going to do their best to make DC a state. They control the Senate, have controlled it in 6 years. It's going to be something that they want to take advantage of, and they know that Republicans were in the same position and DC would be red. They would definitely go through with making DC a state. Just look at what they did with the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett. So the Democrats, they will do whatever they can to make DC a state. I'm sure of that. And I think that right now it is looking good. Really, the most tentative Democrats are Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, but I think that in the end they will be able to be persuaded. I don't think they will vote against their party in, a piece of legislation that is just, this important. And DC has expressed that they want to be a state. Just look at the statehood referendum from 2016, 83%. Let me zoom in a little bit here for you guys. 85% of voters in DC, 85% in the referendum wanted statehood, 14% did not. So that is an overwhelming margin in favor of statehood for the District of Columbia. And really, this map would be a dream map for the Democratic Party. And if you go into 2022, they would be looking very, very strong, because really, if I fill these 2 states in, there are really 3 toss-ups in 2022: Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina. And all 3 of these are Republican-held right now. They are currently Republican seats. But from Pennsylvania, Pat Toomey, North Carolina, Richard Burr, those 2 incumbent senators all said that they will not be running for re-election. Ron Johnson of Wisconsin in 2016, during his re-election bid, said he would not be running for another term. But, he has since then changed his mind. He has taken those words back, but he has not announced that he will be definitely running either. So, I think it's more likely than not that he actually does not run for another term, Ron Johnson from Wisconsin. So, Democrats can definitely pick up these 2 seats. They are Democratic states on the presidential level, and North Carolina is nothing assured for the Republicans either. In Ohio, you have Rob Portman, another incumbent who's not running. In Iowa, Chuck Grassley would be 95 if he finished another term. So it's looking pretty unlikely that these 2 will run. Ohio definitely won't run. So these 5 seats, the Republicans' most vulnerable 5 seats, not looking good because their incumbents are, probably not going to run, and incumbents almost always win. They always do better than if they were not an incumbent. Just look at how Susan Collins won her re-election in 2020 in the state of Maine. So, having those extra 2 seats would put the Democrats up at 50. That would be an absolute dream for the Democrats, and I think that really at this point, it is likely to happen. I would say it's more likely than not that the District of Columbia will become a state with those 2 votes from Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Comment down below whether or not you think DC can become a state anytime soon under the Biden administration. Comment down below why you think the District of Columbia should or should not be a state. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you have not. Join my Discord server if you haven't. The link to which is at the very top of the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next video.